Okay, so call to order the August 1st meeting of the Underhill Planning Commission. It's at 6:03. I have an addition to the agenda. Does anyone else have an addition to the agenda?
Kind of, yes.
Roy, you first.
You go first.
Okay, well, mine is just the email I sent around where I got the minutes after I'd sent around the agenda. So my addition to the agenda, if everyone has read them, would be just approving the July 18th minutes. So,
Okay.
Administrative, what is yours?
Well, I mean, I talked to Charlie. I sent an email out about my conversation with him before the last meeting. And it seems like, as far as the, I don't know if you talked, I wasn't here at the last meeting, but I don't know if you talked about the event venue.
Yeah.
But he said not to, we don't need to make it too complicated because the engineer will, whoever designs the building and the space will, you have to have 5 people for one car. So if you limit it to 150 people, you have to have, so we don't need to get into the weeds about parking, and there'll be a traffic study done and all that too, I assume. So he thought it would be good, and I don't know how far he got with it, but he thought it would be good if we get all these changes that we want to make to their list together and give it to him and they could review it.
Oh, before we do anything with it?
Yeah.
So where we left it was I had volunteered and then did not get to it to do a draft of what this venue section would say.
Okay.
Unless you want to do it, Roy.
Well, I'll be here at the next meeting because, and if I don't do it, would that be okay?
Well, I mean, I volunteered and I didn't do it.
Yeah.
So you would just be following a long line of people who volunteered.
I was going to do it, so I was going to put something together, and then I'm like, I'm not going to be there. I got away from me.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
You sure?
If I drop the ball again,
Then you can.
then maybe we'll see if you can do a better job.
But then I started thinking, okay, yeah, and we can add to it.
Okay.
But I had, is this okay to talk about right now briefly?
Yeah, Charlie's thing? Yeah, go for it.
But also I started thinking about some of the weddings I've been to, like in a tent with a portalette, those fancy portalettes. I went to one in Moortown, a really nice brand new barn. And they obviously had gotten approval from the town for this. And they had a fancy portalette. So and I asked Charlie, well, what do you think of that? And he's like, well, you probably should address that somehow. So
the fancy portalette?
Yeah, instead of having.
Is that the round barn?
No, it's in Moortown. It's
Moortown.
Yeah, but
like the ones at Smugs.
Yeah, like the one at Smugs. Those fancy portalettes that have water in them. And I started thinking, is that something that we want to consider or we should address?
Like you have to have it, or you mean
like
it's like an alternative? Would we allow
Would we allow that?
Okay.
As I started thinking about this, because I've been to a few weddings recently that had those situations, and I'm like, well, would that be okay if we
Why would
allow
you
that?
not allow
By just saying there's no you have to have an on-site sewer to accommodate the.
it? Doesn't the fancy one have its own holding tank?
Yeah, and they deliver it, you have the wedding, they take it away.
Right.
Which would allow you to have an event space without all the expensive work of the septic.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and you could put a tent up, or you could say, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have,
Yeah.
and he was saying that to put a tent up in town, all you need to do is get a permit.
Yeah.
And then you could do that in one-off, but, so where do we go with limiting that? And then also, if you should read their decision on the one they just allowed on Lap Run. It's in I think it's the 2021 decisions. It's Fuller.
Okay.
And you read that and you can see what they spelled out. I read that today, and
Do you have it?
I don't have it with me, but it's on. If you go to the
just go to the
DRB
town.
minutes, just pull up, go to 2021. I think it's 2021, maybe it's 22. I think it's 2021, and just read the decision. Pretty much all you really need to do is read the decision. You don't have to read what they went through to get there, because it was like, well, this is too much information right now.
Right.
But, so those were some things that I was thinking about with respect to this. So I don't know where
Okay.
you ended up at the last meeting, but those were just some things that I came up with, I guess.
Yeah, where we landed was I was supposed to take this big list of things we thought might be relevant, which it appears is at my house, and come up with like a very early first draft, which I'm sure would not be right, and then we would look at it as a group. But what I like about what you're saying right now is to steal the DRB 2021 decision, use that as a base, and modify it for maybe some of the comments we had, because that would save me some work. So
Yeah.
that's pretty smart.
And I don't really know if some of the limitations that were put in that decision, like once a week for 6 months, only on the weekend,
Yeah.
and music from 7 to 10 and this sort of thing.
Well, that's all the stuff we were talking about.
Yeah, but we don't need to get into the trap, like the parking will be, all the site planning stuff will be done by
Okay.
whoever does the site plan, I guess. So it's just basically, he said some general guidelines about how many people,
Okay.
and yeah, so,
All right. That's helpful. Thank you.
okay.
I'll do it that way, using that decision. I think that's a good way to do it. Okay, cool. Did everyone review the minutes from July 18th? Who was here? Not Roy.
I didn't do any.
I'm kidding. Just kidding. We're here. We actually have, yeah, we have enough. We have enough. So, any questions or comments? Can I get a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Thank you, Bart. It seems like a real reluctance to approve these minutes. Is there a second?
I assume they're fine.
Second, Sandy?
Yes.
All in favor?
Yeah.
All right, unanimous. Thank you.
So it must be a rumor that you give really nice wedding gifts if you're going to all these weddings.
Yeah, money.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
what people want, right?
exactly.
Cash.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no public, right? No public. Okay, that takes us to, I guess
I have a
Sandy is
public
on stage.
comment
Oh,
first.
I don't think you're a member of the public, so. Yeah.
Last I checked. My public comment is that our housing problem is getting worse.
Really?
Underhill Flats has most of the apartments that we have in Underhill. There was a fire that displaced 5 people, 5 families. And then across the road is another apartment building for 4 families. And the owner just gave them notice because they want to start an Airbnb.
They want to what now?
Airbnb.
Oh.
So, I just want everyone to know that right next to Jacobs.
Really?
Yeah.
The one across the street.
No,
No, right
next to it.
You
Yeah,
can see the
Oh, man.
smoke.
Towards 15.
Towards 15 from Jacobs.
yeah.
It's literally the building right next to his store.
Oh, wow.
Probably a candle setting.
A candle?
Yeah.
Well, it's an old wood building, wouldn't take much.
Yeah. Somebody with a candle, Jarvis.
Did you have,
So I have nothing more to say other than that, everything we can do to encourage things would be
And what's gonna be the Airbnb?
the yellow apartment. building.
Yellow
They're gonna,
apartment
they
building?
really think people are gonna Airbnb that?
Serious.
Anyways, they're getting rid of the families in, they gave
It's
them
a
60
4
days.
unit?
I mean, look, I'm not saying we should do this, just to be clear, because I know this is a contentious topic, and to be frank, I don't even know how I feel, but like, you just see it in the news all the time, right? Like, if Underhill wants to address this, there's all this pie in the sky stuff that's probably never gonna happen. And then other towns are regulating Airbnbs, like if the select board wants to, it just seems like the easy pickings, whether you wanna do it or not is a separate issue, is for the select board to say they wanna regulate Airbnbs. It's a Woodstock or someone's doing it.
Well, Burlington limits them.
well, Burlington has for a while. And like I said, I'm not saying we should do it. I actually don't know what my view is, but like, I just feel like, honestly, if, I don't know how you all feel. I feel like before we spend any time on that, I would want to hear from the select board, like,
Yeah.
we want to do this, because it would suck to do like all this work, and then it goes to them, and they're like,
Right.
eh.
You could feel the other
Right.
end of the extreme about it.
Right, like, what if they hate it and don't want to do that, then we shouldn't spend any time on it. If they're like, there's a massive issue, the planning commission should think about it, I feel like they should tell us. I don't know how you guys feel, but.
We've talked about it in the past, and then.
Yeah, and then it sort of when, you know what I mean, we spent time on it, and then it sort of didn't go anywhere one way or the other, and it's like, I felt like we just sort of wasted
No,
our time.
I don't think there's much we can do, actually. The private owner of the buildings, they have some rights, you know?
I mean, let's just limit X amount of them and, within, I don't know.
That's
I
what
just
Woodstock's,
don't- I mean, like,
that's what Woodstock's doing,
Yeah.
based on the requirement, so.
A lottery for Airbnbs.
I don't know.
I really feel like this is an issue that, I mean, if we wanted to, we could try to get some time with the select board to say like, well, one option would be not just about Airbnb. We could try to get some time with the select board and say like, this is an issue. It's pretty obvious. We're happy to spend some time on it, but we would want some guidance from you as to what you want us to look into. Like we did a housing study in the past, like.
Right, yeah. No, I
Yeah,
think
like-
it's a good idea.
Or even like, if you want to do like, should they have to bring some kind of comps to the table, say, hey, we're gonna do this Airbnb. We believe we can do it because of the research we've done, and if the research, I guess, holds water, then maybe yes, but if you're just, throwing a finger in there, like, well, I think I can do this, and then like it flops and you just displaced 4 families whose kids, aren't in the school district they want to be in anymore. Well, it's kind of a crappy, sacrifice for a bad business decision. I don't know.
I mean, do people, maybe I'm not thinking about this the right way, but like setting the Airbnb aside for a second, like do people want to try to get on the select board agenda for 5 minutes and say like, hey, basically what Sandy just said, hey, we know that everyone knows this is an issue. We did a housing study. It seems to be becoming a bigger issue. Is there some area you want us to look into that you all think is a possible solution? I don't know if that's how you're asking.
Well, we certainly can, review the housing study and what the options are that we've discussed in the past for increasing housing. Things have just gotten so much more expensive. I mean, it's not just displacing these people, it's like, where do you find another home
Yeah,
that you can
right.
afford? There isn't anything out there.
Well,
That's why I heard
Yeah.
the people that got, one of the families that got this place, they're still living in a hotel, which sounds like a nightmare.
Well, not to circle back to a personal frustration, but like one thing that would maybe help address this is what the work that David did, which is ADUs. But the ADU stuff is sort of stuck right now because we don't have a planning and zoning administrator. So
Yeah, I think the whole issue can be wrapped together.
Yeah.
We need input from the select board. We need someone to really help us address these questions.
Yeah.
And we need an administrator, yeah.
I think the select board needs a heads up before we formally talk to them, so they can think about it.
oh, I just call Brad and say, hey, we want to do this. How
Yeah.
should we do it? Yeah, I agree with you completely. Or else we could just schedule a surprise thing and you could be our representative.
I don't want to be there.
What if I call Brad tomorrow? Because I had to call him about a personal thing at our house anyway. And I'll ask him, I don't know what I'll ask him. Something in this area, like, hey, what's up with the planning and zoning administrator? Because we're getting more concerned about housing.
And
Something like
spinning
that.
our wheels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll call Brad and do that.
What's that?
I'll call Brad and say it. Say it
Yeah.
that way. Okay. Does that feel like a good course of
That was my
action?
public
Sandy?
comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I need to call Brad about, I didn't know the housing was getting even worse in Underhill. I mean, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was getting worse.
Is that Airbnb thing already in motion?
I don't know. That part of it is hearsay, but I do know that they've all been given 60-day notice.
60 days.
Wow.
Stressful.
Doesn't seem like an Airbnb. I wouldn't pick that as their, I wouldn't pick that. But
No, that used to be Section 8 housing.
yeah, well,
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
That building does?
Well, at least a lot of the, yes, a lot of people living there were Section
Well,
8.
I wonder if someone's
don't
gonna
know.
redevelop it.
So,
Maybe.
I-
I don't know.
Could be, or it could be long-term Airbnb, 3-6 months
oh
for
yeah, there was-
itinerant nurses or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say the nursing thing, like traveling
Yeah.
nurses is huge and they pay
Yeah.
like crazy money.
Yeah,
So that could be what they're trying to get in on. And they're never there, so you don't really have to worry about them damn near your place because they're probably working 16 hours a day.
Good
it's funny
tenants.
you say that. Someone was over last night and they told us they were investing in some apartment building and that the hospital had already said they take all the units.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Anyway.
We have a friend in Mooresville that does that, and my wife was helping him get it set up.
Yeah.
But somehow it got screwed up where they were calling us for the, like, it was like our place. So we're getting all these calls like, oh yeah, I need to be in there in like 2 days, right? Like, it's not our place, it's
Yeah.
his place. But anyways, it was like instant, man. We were getting calls
Wow.
from nurses like crazy.
Huh.
And that was during the eclipse, so it was like nothing was available.
Oh, yeah.
The state has incentivized ADUs. If you build an ADU, and I don't know this for sure, but if you build an ADU, they will pay you up to $50,000 of a grant if you agree to rent it for 5 years for as a long-term.
Mm.
So I think, but still, these are already built,
Right.
It just seems like a lot of this should be coming from the state instead of.
What we could do though is
Instead of the A-loss.
make,
Yeah.
we could make people more aware of it though, like,
Yeah, right, exactly.
how do you find out these things?
Yeah. And they also know my brother is actually on the planning commission in Bar Harbor, and he was telling me they only allow 10% of the units that are available in town for rentals to be rented as ADUs. The rest have to be full-time rentals.
Yeah.
So, and he said that right now it's like 15% are Airbnb. And they're whittling it down to 10%.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're doing that, but that's the law that they came up with.
Yeah.
But I don't really, that's a different place altogether, what we have going on.
Yeah.
There
That's a
are hundreds
tourism
of
hotspot.
yeah,
So,
somewhere.
tourism.
All right, I think that takes us to Sandy and the climate action plan
Right.
implementation guidance.
So there's a lot here. What I'm going to tell you up front is that I wasn't able to speak to everybody that has the information to do this. So it's just the start, and I think we'll need to do some more other weeks, but at least it allows us to sort of refresh on what's in here and what we said we wanted to look into. Just a refresher on what this is. These are mostly what we consider the high priority items, those that would actually help us accomplish the plan. There are some moderate priority ones also in here. There's a column for who would be accomplishing certain things. Usually the commission or committee most responsible is listed first. Sometimes there's other committees. And then we put the tools, sometimes it's zoning or policy or education. And then the time frame when we think these should be worked on. The first column are those that should be underway this year. And then the final column is the status as far as I could figure out. I highlighted in yellow the things that the planning commission is supposed to be initiating so that we could just maybe focus on those tonight.
Okay.
And
To be initiating these?
well, as you remember, we decided this was to be a working document where we would consider these items and how we might incorporate them into our town plan or zoning, or how we wanted to respond to them. But first we have to look at them and figure out whether we like it as is, we have some modification we want to do, or we don't think it's something that really fits in with what we're doing here in Underhill.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one is transportation action. Adopt a policy to require all new buildings to have the appropriate amount of electric vehicle charging equipment and 200 amp electric service. So this amounts to upgrading your electric box, really, so that you can take advantage of electric appliances, vehicles, all of those kind of things.
Are you
There
saying
is-
for homes, Sandy?
This is
All new.
this is for homes,
Yeah.
but it's related to transportation.
Got
That's
it.
why it's here.
Yep.
Even though we are responsible for a policy, I don't know as we are the ones solely that could make that decision. It seems like the Energy Committee should have some input into that, which brings me to my second point, which is we really need to collaborate more with other commissions. They have the information that we don't know about, and I think the outcome of what I've learned is that we need to, like we are with the DRB, we need to solicit input from other committees and then figure out how we want to deal with things. But so
Do most houses, sorry, I'm just trying to take some notes so I can be organized. Do most houses have this? Like if your house was built
If you're
in the last
building a new
10
house,
years or
if
something?
you're building a new house, you would typically put in a 200 amp.
Like would my
service.
house have it?
I'm
if it's
sure it
5
has
years?
it.
Okay.
But remember, a lot of the homes in Underhill were built,
So are you
in the
talking about this
60s
being
or
like
70s.
upgrades to an existing?
Not just new homes, you're talking about
So
upgrading.
the new
existing.
homes may have them,
Yeah,
but
homes will,
yeah.
Electric code, I don't think you can get under.
So, so this is for new homes, it's not for, old homes.
No, you're not saying retro.
Oh, it does say all
That's say
new.
new, so that seems like
Okay.
it's kind of
New
like.
buildings, you don't mean old buildings, I mean, the chicken coop doesn't need a 200 amp.
That's a difficult point to argue with. That's a difficult point to argue with.
Well, if you had an old home and you only had 100 amp service and you wanted to upgrade all your appliances to like a heat pump, an electric stove, and a heat pump hot water heater, you would need 200 amps.
Exactly.
So, and in a lot of older homes, that's a pretty pricey
It is.
proposition. So,
There is, however, the federal funds that are, part of, is it IRA?
Yeah, the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are funds for people to upgrade their electrical systems. That's like phase one before you then try to invest in an electric vehicle or something. So it would be advantageous right now for people to do that because there's funding available.
Are you saying, like, in the just for purposes of this document, though, is the proposal kind of like all new homes in commercial buildings?
Yeah.
Is that really what it? Okay. All new homes, in commercial buildings. No chicken coop.
No.
Like I said, I think your current building codes and electric codes are, 200 amp is kind of the minimum you can get away with anyway, so it's already there.
So this might be a no-brainer.
Yeah, we don't have a building code.
yeah, if you build a house in Underhill, you don't have, there's nobody
There's no-
enforcing any building code. And the
Well,
only code that they do enforce is the energy code. If you're And if you are an owner builder, which a lot of the people are who build their own home, you don't even have to follow the energy code, which seems a little,
What's the energy code?
it's a state,
You have
it's
to
a
like,
state code.
Oh,
you basically like run all the loads that are going, and like this computer program spits out like, oh, this is like your efficiency's garbage or not. You have to meet
I
like a certain
see.
threshold.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to like redo your specs on your, you know.
So when you go to, in town here, when you go to get your occupancy permit, you have to have, the only thing you really need to sign off on is the energy code.
Mhm.
And you have to, and usually Efficiency Vermont does an audit of the house that is built. They come out and do the audit, and then they will do the paperwork for the builder.
But if you were building a house now, today, irrespective of what any code says, would you build a new house that didn't have 200 amp service?
No,
For-
yeah, we should-
irrespective of, so everyone's doing it anyway, basically.
Yeah,
I mean, there's probably a couple of slackers out there that might, but that whole house is probably gonna fall down in 2 years anyway.
So it feels like this is,
Somebody that's gonna put 100 amps.
this might be like an easy win for the climate action plan if everyone's already doing it anyway.
So it also says EV charging equipment too. So this would be like in the garage, there has to be a charger, level 2 charger.
Or at least an outlet port that can handle it like a 40 amp, 240.
Are you saying the charger would have to be installed?
I don't
Just
think so, no.
Just like.
Just have the,
Oh, okay.
just the panel needs to be 200 amps.
Right.
Gotcha.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, so definitely that's.
Yeah, so I don't know if we really need a
Well,
building code, but if we have it in there, then.
it sounds like, I don't know how people feel about this. I mean, my takeaway is everyone's already doing it anyway. Sounds like, so if this is something we wanted to add to the regs, to the regs is like a thing, it sounds like we could and it would be fine because everyone's already doing it. Or is that weird to add this to the regs when we don't have a building code?
Yeah, I mean,
It's like a one-off requirement.
There may be other things.
All right, so maybe we'll just
Yeah.
keep going. Okay. Yeah.
Skipping down to the next one, which is number 7. Pursue smart growth land, we're still in transportation, right? Pursue smart growth land use principles to support village center development and pedestrian and transit accessibility. So, although we are responsible for this, and we've done some discussion relevant to ADUs, accessory structured distances required, that kind of thing, which are all smart growth related. I'm not sure we're the group that, it seems more like the select board is working on some of the, yeah. Okay, I'll just stop there in that.
so is this more like sidewalks and stuff, like just adding more like pedestrian use? Like pathways, trails to interconnect things? Is that how I'm interpreting this?
A little bit, yeah, so that it's more user friendly, yeah. And we're sort of doing that in the sidewalk study and that kind of thing here.
Does smart growth really apply to the village center development? Usually it's something that's out in the, with a larger acreage situation where you put, a whole bunch of houses close together, basically. And sort of shoulder to shoulder around a little circle with a little land spreading out on the outsides. That's usually what I understand as smart growth.
Smart growth,
I don't like it.
smart growth is where you encourage village development or in your growth centers so that you don't have houses sprawled out across the landscape. That's the idea. So what can you do to encourage more village development? Another option is when we reconsider our zoning, is to increase the area that we consider village centers so that there's more concentrated building in the two villages.
That was hard though, not to interrupt. Brad, I'm going back like a year, but Brad and I had a call with the person at the state, and I'm forgetting the term now. Maybe one of you
This
remembers.
is different.
Oh, this is different?
So we have a village designation.
That's it. And they wouldn't let us
That's
expand
different
those.
than our zoning district.
Oh, you just mean the zoning of the village center.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Okay.
So things that can incentivize people
To walk instead of drive.
walk instead of drive, build closer to the villages so that they can do that kind of thing.
Well,
Realistic.
maybe it would be clearer just to say, pursue a principle to support village center development. Smart growth sort of throws things off in, what is it there basically?
Well,
Be better just supporting principle to support a village center.
I wonder if we shouldn't break this down into like, what it actually means. Like, what are we trying to do? Like the are there 2 or 3 things we're actually trying to do? Like promote ADUs in the village center, like to pick up on the thing in the back there. Like what do we mean? I'm with you, David, on the comment. It feels a little, like a thing a politician might say. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Like it's a big picture thing and you're like, yeah, but
Fat.
yeah, like what do you mean?
Well, that's like, I
Like,
Google
what are
smart
the-
growth, like, is there some actual thing or what?
There are actually, I don't know, 7 or 10
Yeah.
different things you try to do.
I just wonder though, are there like just given Underhill, are there 1 or 2 or 3 things that are like actually like a tactic we could use, like that applies in Underhill? You know, like they're doing the sidewalk in the center. That
Yeah.
seems like
That's something we're working on.
check.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. What we're working on ADUs.
Yep. We're working on the boundaries so people can, so structures can be closer together in the villages.
You put like, language in the development standards for like, if you're building like a business, you gotta have X amount of bike racks or anything like that to encourage people to ride a bike, because then they're worried that.
There is actually a bike rack thing in the regs. I remember us
Yeah,
talking about that. I don't remember what the rule is. I mean, I wonder if one thing is, when we do the mapping thing, I'm not saying we should do this or it would even work, but when we revisit the district mapping, that seems like that could fall in this. Like in theory, if the flats in the flats in the village center were bigger, because the
Right.
lot size is smaller, and that seems like it would fall in that. I don't know if that's practically makes any sense.
I think you said 2 things there, but I'm really on board with lot size being smaller.
Oh, well, aren't most of the
So-
lots already tiny? though? I mean,
No.
they're
The
not?
problem is they're in Underhill Flats. Okay, I only know this because we're trying to build some affordable homes there.
Yeah.
Underhill Flats, the zoning is 1 acre, okay? Yet you have all of these historic buildings that are just right next to each other and certainly
Oh,
not
They're
in,
in .016 acres.
yeah. So, the sort of feeling you get is that the buildings are close together, but any new buildings can't, won't fit because we have 1 acre zoning.
So if somebody has a 1 acre lot in the flats,
That's
they
it.
can't, and there aren't a lot, but there are a couple. They can't subdivide that
No.
into, and that seems a little restrictive to me, because it seems, as long as they have the capacity for
Well,
the
that's the key.
septic, which,
They have water,
yeah,
they
so.
have town water, so they have better septic, but the fact that you have to have replacement septic,
Oh,
and depending on which side of Route 15 you're on, if you're on
The
west side,
west,
it drops straight, those
it's
may be
swamp.
one,
Yeah.
yeah, it drops absolutely down on those properties. It's beautiful, but it goes out into that floodplain.
yeah.
And that's all riparian, I think. Better.
So is one thing we want to visit here, lot size
In this,
That would
in
be
the
my
village center.
in the center and the
Yeah.
flats?
Well, I guess,
And
well,
it's-
it's gonna depend on,
Septic would
Septic.
kill it all anyway.
yeah, because like, as far as I know, like, you need quite a bit of area for.
I think we did try that once, and it was shot down basically.
Oh, it
We
was.
tried to reduce the size.
But that was then,
That
this
was
is
then, right. I
now,
guess, right.
and I
I'm not
think
saying we
the
shouldn't do it.
pressure is so different now.
It
Yeah.
would, it would be an education for all of us to go, to look at the village center map, you know, go online to the parcel finder or the Vermont parcel.
Yeah.
You're probably all familiar with that. And look at a map of the two centers and see actually how many lots we're talking about. So we don't waste, because it, to me, it doesn't seem like a lot. It's
So
like,
the housing study, she did that.
oh, okay. So
She
it's in-
said the percentage, it's phrased differently, the percentage of homes that are out of compliance because they're too small. So the reverse of that are
Right.
ones that are an acre or larger.
Right. Yeah, okay.
So we can look at that, but I don't think I have it here.
Maybe, well, that might be well,
That's a good list.
And so we also did, if I remember, for ADUs, we talked about relaxing the setback requirements in those centers too, right?
Yeah.
People wanted to build a,
Did we come up with anything for that yet? To make them smaller, to make this,
we had reduced the setbacks.
okay,
I unfortunately do not have the numbers.
yeah, okay.
Yes.
But we remember we were starting talking about the accessory dwellings to be possibly even less than that.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, that's true too. Oh. Okay.
All right, I won't get into the weeds there, but that sounds like a good start. And, you know, if we discuss those and come up with something, then we're moving forward. Okay, now we're into the building section, number 18. Assess and track energy burden for residents. Identify actions and programs to reduce burdens. So I asked Ann Janda from CCRPC how to get numbers on your energy burden, and the state has those numbers by town. So that's what I had put down in the last column. And Underhill residents, it's on average, pay 9.3% of their income on transportation, electricity, and heating. And relative to other towns, we're pretty high.
Is that, why is that? Do they know? Is it because people drive pretty far to work or something?
Over 4% of that is transportation. So it is a lot of driving, whether it's driving to work or driving your kids to the high school.
Sure.
Or, whatever.
Nothing is close.
No.
Nothing is close. What that told me is that when we start looking at some of the rules we put in place to try to make sure we're not increasing the energy burden that people have, however that translates.
Did you have a specific, as you were thinking about this, did anything specifically come to mind?
I didn't know.
Doesn't seem like it's anything that could really be,
How do you
really
address
change
it?
it. The public transportation, I just was driving down the other day behind the public bus, basically.
Yeah.
Nobody in it,
Oh, dear.
2 cars parked in the lot. And are
Yeah.
they there for the bus or are they just as carpooling?
Right.
Yeah.
It would be good to talk to the Energy Committee about what their thoughts are on how to improve
Okay.
that.
Solicit energy committee.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it seems like all stuff that falls in other, like heat pumps and stuff like that type stuff. That falls in other categories too, probably, right? Maybe.
Over time, that should improve the energy burden.
Right.
Another thing, this is one thing I thought of, which doesn't really sound like something you would do, but there are a lot of people in Underhill that heat with wood. And many, I don't know, it'd be good to do a survey, but old stoves are not efficient. And if you could at one point, the state had a wood stove change-out program, so you could get rid of your old one and get a new one, and part of that was to clean up air quality. But the newer ones are so much more efficient, that for the same price of wood, you could heat a lot more, just something we could look into, see if the state is considering anything, see if there's any programs out there that Underhill could get some money and help do something like
They're
that.
not so electric, because we sat with Efficiency Vermont a couple months ago now. Had like a one-on-one like Zoom call with the guy, and it was to go over like ways to make your house more efficient. Everything's electric. Like I think they've done away with the rebates for pellet, stoves and all that stuff. Like it's just electric, which I mean sounds great when you don't lose power 12 times a year, and when you're like on a house that has enough of a service to supply all that. I mean, I just talked to my neighbor again probably months ago, but we're on Vermont Co-op, and he was saying like whatever leg we're on, he's like it's maxed. Like if somebody wants to build one more house on Poker Hill, the system is like maxed. They're gonna have to like upgrade the whole substation, everything. So you can't even put like if everybody switched over to heat pumps,
we'd be in trouble.
the grid wouldn't support it anyways.
Or
So,
EVs.
Yeah.
whatever it is, I'm just saying like Efficiency Vermont wants to push all electric, but the friggin' infrastructure can't even handle it.
Yeah.
So it's like
Green Mountain Power is like, they're going good, right?
Yeah,
And
but they're
they're
like-
installing
they're
a
just in the town.
three-phase.
they're in the city. That's the only place.
Yeah.
Anything outside of that is co-op, and it's like antiquated
No.
junk.
Half of us are on Green Mountain Tower.
I know, but a lot
You
of
guys are on Green Mountain Power?
Uh-huh.
I'm on the call.
yeah, everybody.
It's a funny dividing, it's really
It's the concentrated population.
Right.
not concentrated. Or it didn't used to be before I got my neighbors.
Anyways, yeah, I'm just answering your question about I do agree with you about the stove, like newer stove. Like we have a Hearthstone, which lights out way better than any old iron stove. But
Yeah.
But yeah, we've looked at like the rebates, and there's nothing for anything but electric.
That's interesting. The co-op is maxed out for their power.
At least our leg. I mean, every leg is supplied by a different, area. So what I was told, our leg, along Poker, where I'm in the flats, is that if there's like one more house built, that's like it. And then they have to upgrade to 3-phase and all that, which is a huge.
They just
did
super
that on
expensive.
Rue. Yeah, and then, your electric bills, they're gonna pass it on to you
Yeah.
with a 30% rated hike.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Well,
Okay.
that's the
Got the notes on that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sorry.
No, that's,
Oh,
no, that's super interesting.
It's important to know those things. Those are the details you don't really get, right?
Right, yeah.
Move way down to 39. Now we're in natural working lands, forest carbon sequestration. Research and promote available resources through the IRA or state funding that can benefit forest landowners. Yeah, it's a research thing.
Yeah.
What is this?
So, there's pots of money out there to help forest landowners keep their forests forested, which allows the trees to continue to absorb carbon and, really help us out there. If all the trees are cut, then that emits more carbon and our greenhouse gases are worse off.
Yeah, but that's a very, very minor thing. It's just absolutely, totally inconsequential. You get up on Mount Mansfield and look down, it's all forest, basically. You can't even see houses practically. But it's,
Underhill is about 80% forested, you're right. This is to make sure we stay that way. That's
Well,
the kind of thing.
doesn't current use help that?
Current use, it helps it a lot, yeah. There are funds to help people manage their forests so that they actually can get more carbon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the sort of thing. But I think the Conservation Commission should be working more on that kind of thing myself.
I actually wonder if that shouldn't have CC first, PC second. What do you think?
Very good, I like
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's find more of them. I'll keep my eye out. No, all kidding aside, that should probably. Yeah, okay.
So in maps, I see above it is 38, pursue land owner incentives.
Forest story, that's like the same thing twice.
it. It is, isn't it? Different pots of money.
Yeah.
Okay. So put,
We have a lot of yellow here, so Carol.
Yeah, wait.
Stop giving us more
no,
room.
what I'm saying is that got CC first.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, good eye, sorry about
I
that.
don't know why. I have to say some of this is a little arbitrary.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad I didn't drink it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, let's shuffle 38 over to the or 39 over to the Conservation Commission, if they'll take it.
41, now we're in agriculture. Hold a forum for farmers, big and small, to understand their operations, support their efforts. This is what the Jericho and Underhill Food Hub is doing. We've held 2 forums and are working to help support farms and local food. And the town of Underhill has supported initially the community brunch that's coming up on the 11th. And my suggestion for ongoing here is that when it comes time to put in our budget for next year, that we try to encourage a line item for the food hub to continue activities that way.
Okay.
There wasn't any partnership with UVM Extension, however.
Were they not interested?
I don't
Okay.
Enough people already.
What are those things, I don't know the name, but like when you sign up with a local farmer to get like.
CSA.
Yeah, CSA. Is there a way to like promote those somewhere more frequently somehow? So people know that they're around. I mean,
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
kind of stumble into it just by like kind of accidentally, whereas.
Oh,
So that's one of the things we've been trying to do. The mailing that we did in the spring had listed which farms
did it?
had CSAs.
Is that a generic mailing?
It was bulk mailing. You can get the brochure out in the fall.
It was real early in the spring. It probably put my fire as kidney doesn't.
Yeah, but that's the idea of the kind of thing that they're trying to do. Make sure the farmers get supported by having enough customers. People know where their farms are, that sort of thing. So we've accomplished one thing.
yeah. Woo.
43, minimize development of agricultural soils outside the village centers in areas planned for growth. So there's a number of these you'll see in that last column that are just going to have to be part of our zoning discussion when we get there.
Yeah, this is all map stuff, right?
Yeah, well, it's policy related to
Mhm.
different zoning districts,
Mhm.
which, we are doing the bylaws now. So some of these certainly could be part of our discussion.
But
we have to identify, where are those ag soils? What kind of protections do they have already? Because I think some of the state ag soils have, I don't know what kind of restrictions there are, or do you just get a waiver or something?
This is going to get into canceling the value of land for the landowners. To be part of the discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's 43, that's agriculture. Now we're into land use, regulate or minimize clearing associated with development. My understanding is the DRB tries to give people like a development, what is it called?
Envelope.
Envelope, but I don't know if that's ever written down anywhere.
Your building envelope, well, Roy's a builder.
As I understand it now, the DRB has wanted the building envelopes to be large, so you could build anywhere in your lot, but.
That's my experience too. I think I may have told you guys this before. In fact, when we went in for our barn, I did a little drawing of expanding my building envelope to exactly where I wanted the barn. And Andrew was like, no. Did it to basically my whole lot as far as you can go. He's like, we don't want people coming back in. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but like, we're just making the building envelope as big as we can so you don't have to come in every time you want to do something. So I had the exact same experience as Roy.
That concerns when a development comes before the DRB, but a simple permit doesn't have any limitations.
Right. If you have a one-off lot, there's no limitation as to, unless it's a lot you bought that has a assigned building envelope, there's no limitation as to how much you can clear or where you can build.
Yeah.
So if I bought,
Anything within the setback, basically, right?
so if I bought 20 acres, just to give you a ridiculous example, are you saying if, obviously no one would do this because it costs a fortune and makes no sense, but if I bought 20 acres and I just wanted my house in the middle of a 20-acre field and it was all forest, I could just take it all down and turn it into a field?
Yeah.
So that's the opposite of what you're
yeah.
saying.
Why would you do that?
Well, I mean, no one in the red mind would do that.
Well, it could get to something that is really interfering with a property owner's use of their land. Like, they want to clear an area for view, or something like that. And, when you come in and say, no, we got to save those trees. Those trees are important for emitting carbon dioxide or oxygen, whatever. But anyway, I think we have to be pretty careful with that. I don't want to interfere with the property owner's right to.
I feel very confident, Sandy and David, that numbers 43 through 47 are going to get the same comment from Sandy and the same comment from David. So we can. Is that a fair summary? So all kidding aside, it feels like these are important topics that there's going to be a disagreement on, but they all feel very interrelated. So I don't know when the right time, maybe the right time to do all these is when we get the map back.
Exactly.
Okay. Then we'll get in the weeds and
Right.
figure it out.
I think that the natural resources map will show those areas that are significant for one reason or another. And then we need to decide, what to do with that kind of information, right?
Okay, so we're gonna punt.
Yeah,
43
I do
through
want to
47
point out,
on the
I
map.
do want to comment on 47. This is avoid new development in soil water. It's not forest conservation yet. It's soil and water conservation district, and avoid new development. Wow, that's canceling a whole lot of private value. Just wiping it out.
Wait, which zone is the soil water?
That's the one high up.
20 acres.
But David's saying it is only called the
15
soil and water conservation. It's not.
Is it 15 or 20?
It's 15.
Okay, so it's like out your way.
Yeah, but I'm not in it. It's like only up high, I think, isn't it? I thought
Yes,
it's
it
it's
is.
at higher elevations. We're not in it. We're in the scenic view or whatever.
So that's 10 acres in the scenic view.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I actually don't know where soil water conservation is.
It's
Where,
all over, but it tends to be the tops of the
like
ridges.
up. Yeah.
And that's down every single part.
Right. Got it.
Maycumber Mountain and all those.
Got it. Okay. All right. So that all falls in the same category, I think. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, none of it says prohibited, it just says avoid. So I mean, I think that leaves you open for compromise if and when somebody decides to develop.
All I know is I'm going to be sick the day we talk.
Oh.
48.
Well, we're pushing past my 2-year term, right?
That's right.
I decided I was gonna take a course on how to reach compromise.
AK persuading David Edson.
Yeah. So the next section is resilience and adaptation. So this is how we protect our land, our people, against harm from climate change. I think we've seen some of what that can do this summer. Holy smokes.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
It's just unbelievable.
We're pretty lucky as a town.
I know. You know, I was thinking about that just as an aside. Yes, we haven't gotten 8 inches of rain overnight, but I also feel like a lot of the road work that's been done has been done really well.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really paying
Oh,
off.
totally.
You know?
The stone line ditches everywhere.
Yeah,
That's huge.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to remember to, give kudos to our,
Oh,
Yeah.
our road people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job.
Yeah, I thought at first, like, these guys just winging it or what? But then, like, I've been going and checking Lower English, I get on the cloud, I'm like, what are they up to now? And it's checking the progress. It's like, this is pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
This isn't like Joker work. This is
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to Brad though, and he was saying that the town road crew was having a hard time keeping up with maintaining class 3 roads.
Which is just about all our dirt roads.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I talked to Russ, I called him, complained about our road. He was like, oh yeah, we're just really busy. And then like literally, it's like, it's on the list. And then like literally the next morning, they're going. I'm like, oh, I guess it just takes a phone call.
And we've also just canceled all work on class 4 roads. Haven't done anything on them for about 4 years. And that's, there's some people that live on class 4 roads. And I find that hard to accept.
Well,
There is
a
coming up, incidentally, just as another information. There is coming up a hearing on class 4 roads. They're presenting what their work that they will be giving to the select board. That will be coming up sometime soon.
Haven't they been working on this for like a year?
Yeah.
Haven't they been working on this for?
They've been working on it for quite a while.
Yeah.
Rick Hay is the chairperson.
Oh,
Thank you, David.
yeah, I've been curious what they came up with.
49, is there anything to do there?
48, I was just gonna
Oh.
say, this is about hydrologic resources, and we did have that great session that Stacy
Yeah.
Pomeroy gave, but we haven't really considered any of the options that we might do there. That's a pretty important one as far as, the kind of damage that we can do is really making sure that we look at streams that are potentially, just able to destroy things and make sure we have in place
Yeah,
things that are needed there.
I'm trying to remember that presentation. Were there like a top, I know there's no way it was actually this, but was there the equivalent of like a top 3 problem areas in Underhill or something we should be thinking about?
I don't think she really gave that
I
to us.
don't think so either.
We
It'd be
do have
interesting
the
to know
recording. I think I might have to
Oh,
look at
yeah.
it again.
It would be interesting just how, based on how other areas of Vermont are just getting hit so hard, it would be interesting to see if there's like top 3 problems or something that maybe the town should think about. I
Mhm.
mean, it could be our turn sooner or later, right?
Mhm.
Well, it's been our turn. Back in the 90s, I remember telling my neighbor, I said, this is our 3rd annual 100-year flood.
Wow, okay, in the 90s.
In
Wow.
the 90s, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just make a note of other problem areas in Underhill. Okay. Just to take a quick poll, sorry, and maybe David is the main person I'm asking because he did the work, but are you okay, David, if we just keep going through this and do
Oh, sure.
ADUs at the
Yeah,
next
that's okay.
meeting?
We can
I know you did.
do it more.
Is that okay?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right, let's do that.
So I think some of these are gonna be pretty quick, because I don't have a lot, and like 49, I know the town had a lot of roads that were identified as needing to be done because of stormwater and other things, but I haven't gotten together with Brad yet on that. So there's not a lot of information on many of these just because of that. The
Yeah.
49, I'll have to talk to Brad, and then we can come back to some of these.
Yeah, that one would apply to class 4 roads, which they haven't gotten on. So they used to do water bars on.
Oh, yeah.
Not even known of it. Just being, roads are just washing.
So maybe a comment is class 4 roads, question mark. I have to say on number 50, this is probably not what you had in mind, Sandy, but you were joking about the power going on all the time. And we like invested in the whole house generator. Thing's awesome.
We have a
Pitch
tip,
for whole house generators, number 50. The power went out once a week ago, 20 seconds later, back in the game.
yeah. We did too, like, you know, those crazy storms last January that like knocked it out twice, and I think
Well, that was my incentive.
I know, but I think I went through like 50% of my propane in just like those 2 or 3 days.
Oh, in the
so
generator?
it's not gonna last forever.
Yeah, that's true. Why do you have to kill my buzz off my
Because my, it's every downer at the end of the table, that's my job. Yeah. Just saying, maybe turn it off at night or something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Expensive propane.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting ones that we're skipping over.
50,
54,
that feels like it goes back with
Same
those
thing,
other ones,
yeah.
right?
I will just say that as part of that natural resource inventory, we had people record where they've seen wildlife around town.
Oh, I saw that.
People loved that, and it engaged them in, the connection between what we were doing and
Yeah.
what they experienced. And all of that information is going to be on the maps that the contractor puts out. So you'll be able to zoom in and say, oh, Bart saw this
Yeah,
at his house.
that's cool.
You know.
Were there any moose sightings?
No.
I saw one on Front Porch Farm.
You know, we had like the ladies guild in Upper English, the emails go around about a baby moose.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Is it the same one?
Maybe. It sounds familiar.
You know, like, Rita St. Germain?
Mhm.
And so her and all the other old ladies had like a wine fest there.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
All the young.
My contemporary.
Yeah,
We might have to schedule
Anyways, she said he
a
emailed
boxing
her
match.
about It was like 30 replies long about this moose, and my wife's like, I just wanted to see a picture. Nobody ever posted a picture. Anyway, sorry. Young Rita St.
Young punks.
Germain.
Sandy.
So
Sorry.
55, update town road, driveway, trail ordinance to account for increased rainfall. We've done a little discussion on that, but we could do more.
I
The
have a,
one that I noted was.
SB be first, because they are the one that's the road ordinance.
or I was gonna say infrastructure too. It feels like we don't really deal with the town road stuff that much. I wonder if someone else should
Okay.
take that.
That's last.
Yeah, like
Put us
someone with,
last.
I think so.
There's a town road committee,
Yeah, I mean, they're like engineer, like
That's
they're,
the
Mike Weisel
IC,
and
yeah,
Kurt Johnson and
Yeah.
somebody else.
okay.
they're engineers and
We'll change
like,
that
it's-
around.
that's road engineers and it's.
Well, and the select board does all the road
Ordinances, yeah,
Yeah, I think I'd vote we kick us to the back on that one.
I like that. 57, develop plans to help seniors and vulnerable residents prepare.
That would be me.
Hey, I'm just jealous I don't get invited, all right?
You're missing out. They would be good buddies.
My wife goes, she says she has a great time, so
What is,
MMB is Mount Mansfield Villages.
what is like an action item there though that we could do to do that?
Well, one thing that I've been thinking about, I don't know whether you think this is a good idea or not, but there's an awful lot of nonprofits that do work in town, but nobody really like gets together and identifies what everybody's doing. So it may be that there are people doing all kinds of things that we would like to know about. So I thought we should have a forum and invite all the nonprofits and have these kind of agenda items where we can talk about, okay, what are you doing for seniors? How are you supporting daycare centers or, whatever we have a lot of things in our town plan also that other people are doing,
Okay,
So that would be my suggestion.
okay.
It sounds like something that somebody interested in should take and just run with and put it together. Same here.
Yeah, because I'm hardly doing anything else. No, I have that in mind. Get that done.
I mean, is this like as simple as like a list of people that are vulnerable and somebody's assigned to check in on them?
It's sort of a neighbor to neighbor thing, but we spent some time when we were doing the town plan talking about how do you identify who's vulnerable? How do you identify who's on oxygen so that if the power goes out, there's just all those kind of things. Like probably the fire department knows some things and, maybe Agewell knows some things, you just.
Israel wouldn't know much.
Who
that.
gets, yeah, but like who gets Meals on Wheels?
Right.
Or,
They
different
would
things
know
like
that. And I
that.
think Mount Mansfield Village is
Probably knows
quite
quite a bit,
involved
yeah.
with trying to figure out. I haven't been involved. I'd like to get involved, but
Right.
looking who's on board.
The churches around probably have pretty good
The
lists, 'cause they
churches do a
food
lot,
banks and all
yeah.
that, so they have a list of people
Yeah.
that they regularly.
That almost feels like the easiest place to do that would be town meeting day, to have like a 5-minute, well, not even 5 minutes, but like, we're trying to put together a list of people in town who might need X, Y, or Z, and there's like a sign-up sheet or something, and if you know your neighbor maybe should be on that list, but they're not here, please let us know, something like that. We're getting most people in one place, right?
It's like a booth in the.
Yeah.
hallway kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Maybe, I don't know. That's one idea.
Yeah, it could be, self sign up too.
Yeah.
58, develop and implement a drought management plan to prepare.
The opposite.
Kind of laughable this year. To prepare for a quick and intense onset of dry periods, protect public and private water sources, farms, and streams. So Massachusetts and New Hampshire have a pretty complete drought plan, which we could look at and see if we want to do anything. You will notice that the time frame on that is not like now, it's maybe
Right.
secondary, so it could be
Right.
something we do in the future.
Okay.
I don't know if Underhill really has to worry too much about a drought plan. We seem to have, plenty of water, and the water table is pretty good, beneath the mountain. And Anyway,
Some years, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
there'll be like 5 or 10 people I know that have to re-drill their well,
Yeah.
you know? And
The ones with shallow
the
wells.
town
Yeah.
doesn't know anything about it. But if you knew that there was that going on, you know, then you could make plans to help people if they ran out of water or something.
Yeah.
You know that many people who have to re-drill wells every year?
There have been times where it just was rampant all of a sudden. Yeah.
Well, did they end up re-drilling them or did they go for deep wells, having had shallow wells?
Yeah,
See, that's-
it might be they had shallow wells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the people I knew who had, and when I was in that position, that we had dry weather, it was the shallow wells.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now the banks won't even finance a house with a spring.
Yeah.
They have a drilled well.
Is that right?
Oh, wow.
Pollution probably. Yeah.
Okay.
60. I'll just preface this by saying that the UVM students that were helping us with this did an analysis and they figured out the water protection district, which is for the water for Underhill Flats. They determined, you know, sort of the area, and it was different than what we have on our zoning map. So this is just sort of reassessing our zoning related to that, and yeah, so it'll be part of our map review, I imagine.
Okay.
61, review town flood hazard regulations and account for increased rainfall. This was something that Kurt Johnson was going to help us with. And I'm going to talk to him next week and we'll update you on that. How about that?
But you put that down as a 2 to 5 year.
Yeah.
Can you ask him when you talk to him, Cindy, about 55 too? The town road?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Partner with Transition Town Jericho. Yeah, so that we already talked about. 65, encourage producing, selling, and purchasing of locally grown foods in Underhill and Jericho. The Food Hub is compiling information on maple producers, flower farms, and locally made foods, and there'll be sort of guides out there on that as well to promote those local products. And the last part is on prepare for climate mitigation through smart growth principles, and we can change the wording on that if you want.
Migration or mitigation?
Migration, yes, you're right. In other words, what you did.
Yes, prepare for clowns like me to show up in town. Smart people. Leave them where the bad places.
66, encourage increased density in and around village centers, so growth is concentrated in growth centers, avoids for future forest fragmentation. 67, protect and limit incursions into forests, etc. These are all things we are going to get into. 68, create a village plan for both Underhill Center and Underhill Flats that considers increased populations from climate migration. I know they had something in Underhill Flats where they were developing a plan, but
For climate migration?
no, it wasn't. But I'm not sure what the plan.
Who does it? How is it different from, or separate from the center? It's a different
It's
group.
because it's Underhill and Jericho combined, you know, because the borders right there. I think that one took into account all the new housing that's planned for this sawmill area too.
For me, 69, by the way, like, because
Yeah,
we spent a bunch of time on that. I mean, I feel like this is another good topic. Like, if the select board actually wants to do this, they should tell us like that's their number one priority because it's huge money and they're gonna have to say like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It'll
this is
take
like,
forever.
yeah, this is what we want the
10
planning
years.
commission to do for the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Just do this.
Well, that's the thing, I mean, it's gonna be hard to get any, everything's like a logjam, right? Like, it's gonna be hard to get anything built if you don't have the infrastructure to support it. And if you wanna reduce the lot sizes, you can't have on-site septic, you're gonna have like a shared treatment center
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Well, did you see, wasn't it Fletcher too? Was it Fletcher where the select board or the planning commission went, they applied for all these grants? I think it was Fletcher. They got all the grants. They got tons of money from the state. It's all lined up. They worked on it for like 18 months. And then they took it to the town and the voters like,
Was it Westford?
Westford, not
Yeah.
Fletcher. Thank you.
Yeah, that's too
Yeah.
bad.
But I mean, I just.
Because it was
mean,
gonna
like,
cost a lot of money.
Yeah, because they were gonna
Gonna
have to
actually-
issue bonds or something to help pay for it, even though they got a bunch of state money and people said, no.
Pretty short-sighted, actually, but.
Well, but it'd be good to know in advance before we spend a bunch of time on something.
yeah, it is a hard sell though, if you don't live in the village,
Yeah.
why should I pay for that,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is on 69, if we do.
so that should be part of it.
I feel like if we think it's important, we should talk to Brad about getting the select board involved, like before we do anything on it whatsoever. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Oh, Sandy, that's amazing. Thank
This
you
is
for all
crazy,
this.
Sandy. This is great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The plan's already written.
Thank you.
The
The
I
map,
have a few other
Oh.
conclusions
Okay.
that I came to.
Okay.
I met with the Conservation Commission, and they sort of have things they're developing their 5-year work plan, but they don't have this stuff on there because they haven't been directed to do it. So the problem with the way that we're dealing with this action plan, in that we're considering it, is there's all these things for the other commissions and committees to do, but we haven't told them that we want them to do it.
right.
So my suggestion is where other, we've identified who in this long series. So the ones where the Energy Committee is listed first as the one to implement things, we should ask those groups to look into it, consider it, evaluate it. If they're on board with it, either do it or bring it back to us. I mean, if we're the deciding commission and have to approve all of these things, then that's one thing. If we are going to rely on the other committees and commissions to do it, then we have to give them permission to do it.
Well, I think they could go through and take these points here. This is the Energy Committee and so on, each one of them here, and look it over and say, yeah, we would like to work on this one, and we would like to work on that one, but we don't want to work on this one or that one.
Right.
They could actually point it out and actually be more knowledgeable about it than we are.
Well, we probably just
I
have to.
think they should.
Yeah, I
Just
know.
do it, right? It's just one of those things. like,
Yeah.
Hey, we did it, are you gonna do it? And just kind of test them until you get a response.
Do you think this is something where Brad, I'm just thinking out loud, is this something where we should say like, hey, Brad, this is the list, this is how it works, these are the more urgent ones. If the initials of that committee are first, they're the ones who should be doing it, like, you kind of want to farm these out to the other commissions. Do you think Brad should put a role there, or no?
I mean, I think this missing hired person is the one that.
Yeah.
Do it, but-
Agreed. It just feels weird for us. I don't disagree with you, but on the other hand, it also feels a little weird for us to call the Energy Committee and say, I don't think we could say like, we think you guys should do these 15
Okay,
priorities.
So the chair of the Energy Committee and the chair of the Conservation Commission were part of this.
Right, I picked probably the worst example.
No, but let's continue that. What we decided as a committee was that we were going to look at this
And then farm it out.
and then farm it out.
Okay.
So nobody has been, okay, so say the select board has an item here. People haven't ever been given a presentation about the climate action plan. So they're gonna look at this and they're, I don't know.
Do you
It
think,
just seems like maybe there was a missing link in there that didn't happen, and that was maybe a presentation to all of the different committees.
well, I was gonna say, do you think we need to do, try to schedule a presentation on the climate action plan? With,
Now that it's been a year and we can't remember what we did.
yeah,
I was wondering if this was like a typo or not, 2023.
no, no.
Going up on a year.
I think these should be presented to them as suggestions. We aren't approving or recommending. We're saying these are the points that have been identified, and we'd like you to review them and make your own prioritized list on it and come up with the support for it, basically. They're the ones that know what they're doing in the Energy Committee.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other committees also that I've mentioned here.
So how would we, just like in the last few minutes we have left, how do we do that? Like email this to each of the committees and say, hey, we went through this and we're working on our priorities. We know that you were part of the process. Do you want to do the same? Something like.
Yeah, I would say,
Is that
yes,
what
give
we're-
it to them and say, this is a suggested list, and we'd like you to review them and get back to us as far as what we think is,
Right.
and a list of priorities, basically. You can't do them all.
Right. What do you think, Sandy?
Some of them have implications that would affect, other things that we would
Yeah.
want to look at.
Yeah.
What I can do is to highlight what they're responsible for and give it to them so that they don't get, all, how many, 70 of these or whatever. Sort of like this, where the yellow is
Yeah.
theirs for consideration.
If you copied me on those emails, I don't mind putting something on my calendar to follow up with them in 30 days or something like that and try to coordinate something with each one of them and us. I could do the follow-up bit.
Unless you think we should go through Brad.
No, I like this one better. I
Okay.
feel like it's not gonna go anywhere too quick. That's all right.
Everybody agree with that process?
Okay, let's do that. And then for ours, well, we all took notes, but we'll have to, just kind of always have this with us as we're going through the other stuff and make sure we're hitting it, right? And the map is a big part of it,
The
obviously.
map's a big part of it. I would like to update you on the few like road things that I get from Kurt.
Yeah.
And at least we know.
Do you want that on the agenda for next week? Or next meeting? You'll have seen it in the interim?
Yeah,
Just
while
5
it's fresh in our minds.
Yeah, 5 minutes. I mean, that's just a short. Okay, so next meeting, we're gonna do ADUs, mapping grant, 5-minute update from Sandy on conversation with Kirk, with Kurt. Sandy and Kurt.
The mapping grant is an easy one.
And we're gonna do, do you wanna just drop a quick, is that like a 1-minute update? Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, we were gonna apply for the municipal planning grant. But their website says, we're not doing
Oh,
that
yeah,
yet.
you sent that out. Yeah. Okay,
We're updating our computer system or something, so
okay,
there aren't any funds available through that just yet.
okay. So next meeting is ADUs, update with your conversation on Kurt. I actually think going through this 24 VSA 4412 is gonna be somewhat time consuming, so maybe that's enough. And a planning and zoning administrator update from Brad.
Hey, Brian, if you want to, could you send me the notes on the event venue that you have?
Oh, yes.
And I'll look at them and then
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
come up with some ideas.
yeah.
Just, I'll work with that.
If you can't
I'll
read,
work on that.
if you can't read any of it, feel free to call me. When you can't read some of it, feel free to call me.
We're not even gonna get to that next week, right?
No, oh yeah, good point. I didn't say that, but we should do it though.
Yeah, so if you send me
Event
what you
venues.
have, I'll work on it.
We'll do event venues before 24 VSA. So we'll start with David, do event venues, and then get as much of the 24 VSA as we can. Okay. Okay. And I need to send Roy
I'll remind you.
notes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, it's 7:29, so.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We'll give it to Mark. Second, Carolyn. I feel like she was right there. All in favor? Thanks, everybody.